Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk to you about the soil story in a different perspective altogether. It's a story of the soil as we continue. I'm not going to teach anything new to you people, but to share and learn in the process. December 5th December 2021 is considered as, 5th December is considered as a World Soil Day. And in 2021, they brought in a sort of a theme: halt soil salinization, boost soil productivity. You are aware that most of the chemicals continue to go in, so salinization keeps increasing. And then we got the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, when I go into the Sustainable Development Goals, what hurts me is by 2030, we will be able to provide nutritious and sufficient food for all. By 2030, we will end all forms of malnutrition. By 2030, we will double agriculture productivity. By 2030, we will improve land and soil quality. By 2030, maintain genetic diversity of seeds, cultivated plants, and farmed and domesticated animals. I wish my listeners to kindly concentrate and remember these themes as we proceed further. Are they really being serious about all this? Are we really being serious about all this? Because already our country is 121 as far as the 2022 reports are concerned. And then as natural resources are getting diminished, climate change is increasingly felt. You and I are already feeling it. Every time when I don't think we are going to have monsoons here afterwards. We are going to have only cyclones. Erratic behavior of the weather, erratic water pattern, erratic wind pattern, all these have started. And what is predicted is by 2050, individuals should be eating cultured or cultivated meat, high protein insects, seaweed, algae, and allergen-free nuts. This is how the whole thing is getting marketed now. From agriculture is going into corporatization of products. What matters of concern are there's a change in annual mean temperature, there's a change in annual mean rainfall, there's precipitation, right? And water demand is going to increase further. It's going to be multifold because water scarcity has already been noticeable. That is where I want you people to kindly consider and concentrate on these terms. What does the word eco mean? It's very funny. This particular word eco derived from the Greek word what is pronounced wrongly as oikos actually should be pronounced as echo. Means home, and in this context, home is the entire globe. So if I study about our Earth, the entire Earth, it becomes ecology. If I evaluate my Earth, that's my home, it's economy. The problem today is a conflict between ecology and economy. And in this, what burns is actually ecology, because people want economy over ecology. On the other side, there's biodiversity. And according to SDG goals, we have to maintain a lot of biodiversity. Bio means life, diversity means variety. Now, in this, India is very rich in biodiversity. We have multitude of organisms, multitude of vegetables and plants, multitude. And each, we have several varieties. You take bhendi or okra or lady's finger, you have several varieties. Tomatoes, we have several varieties. Several products, even though they might have come from different regions, have become native to our country. All these belong to our country. We have varieties of animals, species, varieties we had. And then this problem started. The native versus the imported cows. Native cow is Bos indicus, imported cows is Bos taurus. In native cow, you'll find a hump, which will be absent in Bos taurus. The native cow Bos indicus will have a curve at the back end, whereas Bos taurus will have a flat end. So we have the Desi Gir, for example, for you to understand, and that's the Jersey. I hope you're able to be clear about all this. So this is going on one side. On the other side, though we always talk about saving the cow, we don't want the bulls. Unfortunately, new technology has come into existence called as the Bellsville sperm sexing technology, where sperms collected from the bulls will be segregated into X chromosome bearing sperms and Y chromosome bearing sperms. As you should be aware, Y chromosome bearing sperms will create a male a calf, whereas X chromosome bearing sperm will create a female calf. So in this technology, The sperms will be segregated. Y chromosome bearing sperms will be eliminated. Only X chromosome bearing sperms will be used for artificial insemination so that there are really no bulls, but only cows. Economy over ecology. On one side, we talk about maintaining our biodiversity. On the other side, we are reducing our gene pool. And to my knowledge, we do not have native segregated sperms available. On the other side is the poultry farm. If you look at the poultry farm, we had breeds of poultry in our country, but this particular poultry started picking up. Now, in this poultry, the problem is when I was young, in 70 days, it will stand like this, whereas in 48 days today, it is unable to stand and bear its own weight because of excess type of antibiotic abuse, which comes into the production of poultry. The same thing is happening to fish as well. All this is related to the soil. You may ask me how it is related. We'll be going continuously, have a look at it. Now, this particular fish is common, the common freshwater fish, the common marine fish which we consume. But unfortunately, today fish is being imported from Thailand and Indonesia. And this is basa fish, which is a catfish, for which the skin is removed, the bones are removed, the meat is processed to have a white color, comes and lands into India as an ice, sort of a block. Now, this is sold at 300 rupees a kilo, whereas the Indian varieties are sold for 800 to 1,000 rupees a kilo. This is being, allowed to thaw, and then you prepare beautiful dishes and mostly served in this way. So next time you visit a restaurant and want to have a fish, please go in for a full fish or a slice of fish with the bones in it. Today, most of our breeds are being threatened. Most of it being threatened, right? And then when you go to trees and soils, agroforestry is picking up a lot. And I want many of my people who want to talk about soils to concentrate on agroforestry, because agroforestry does a lot of benefits to the farm as well as to the soil. But when I tell it that way, always remember that a tree can give us immense oxygen, and it's evaluated in economic terms that a tree per year can give us about 23 crore rupees worth of oxygen. Now, if this is the capacity of the tree, 21st March is declared as the International Day of Forests. The moment we tell people, why don't we have some good small forests, people think Miyawaki can replace ecotypes. It cannot. It can never. Miyawaki can be done in a small area which is available inside a campus or anywhere. Miyawaki cannot replace forests. The moment we tell about green cover, that should be at least 33% green cover, immediately people jump into Miyawaki forests. Or just because we want to have a satellite view of green cover, we want to move into casuarinas and teak. A tree should be useful and its litter should be useful to enhance life in the soil. Now, these trees, the litter which drops down does not disintegrate immediately and is not nutritious enough to improve microorganisms and improve the soil health. So what type of trees are required? Trees which bear some amount of fruits in it, whether it is jamun or whether it is this sort of fruits, where birds will come, eat the fruits, put the droppings on the soil, plus the litter decomposition leads to a beautiful detritus circuit where microorganisms multiply, earthworms multiply, and the whole soil health improves. So tree planting is very important, but what type of tree is being planted is very important. Second, this endemic species produce deep roots, and these roots enable to harvest water. Unfortunately, we look at trees in this way. We'll grow it fast, we'll cut it so that we make money. That doesn't make any sense in it to improve the soil. And when we cut the trees, the soil is barren, looks at the sky. And when there's rainfall, all the topsoil goes into the sea. For your information, nature takes almost 250 to 400 years to develop 1 inch of topsoil. 1 inch of topsoil. And we are losing topsoil. That's the reason why agroforestry becomes very important, to hold the soil, right? And people have been going in for chemicals in such a way that more and more chemicals are going into the soil, which completely, it leaves residues and in the long run creates a change in soil chemistry and physical structure of the soil. Soil is more important than you think, because soil is food. No soil, no food. So today, no soil, no food. Is it clear? Know the soil to understand the food. When I talk about soils, people I would ask you a question whether soil, does it have age? Does soil have an age? If I ask you in that way, then soil has no age. Rock has an age. And soil is formed gradually every day by the weathering process. It's something like this old instrument which we used to use at homes. If you assume the mortar to be the rock and the pestle to be the weathering process, then just like that, how we create atta from that, the flour, the same way soil is created every day gradually. There's a reason suddenly the world woke up and said, 2015, International Year of Soils. We celebrate, we put a theme, we forget. We remind about your old advertisement, right? Fill it, shut it, forget it. So working on soils for a long time, since 1978, 79, I entered into some logical discussions about the soil. I would like to share with you people. This is just logical to understand how soil also is something like a living entity. Because in schools, we teach the children that is living, non-living. And we make children feel that something is non-living. We tell children air is non-living. We tell children we are living. But we forget to tell children that if you remove that non-living air from my body, I become non-living. We tell children water is non-living. We tell ourselves we are living. Remove the non-living water from my body, I become non-living. So working with soils, I suddenly felt when people ask me, when you talk about living soil, does soil have a digestive system? Well, look, imagine that you're walking on the road and there's a dead animal lying over there. For example, a dog. It's lying dead. 1 day, 2 days, starts stinking. You dig a hole, put the dog, bury it in the soil. You don't get the stink. What's happening inside? It's getting decomposed. Who is decomposing? Microorganisms to a large extent. Yes. Who are there in our intestine? Microorganisms. They're doing a lot of job in our own intestine. So logically, you can say soil has a digestive system. Then they ask me whether soil has a respiratory system. Just like we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, soil takes in oxygen, gives out carbon dioxide. Then they ask me whether you have a circulatory system. Yeah, when I'm walking on the road and there's a big rock, I don't notice it. I hurt my leg. If I hurt my leg, I go to the doctor. Doctor gives me a tablet. Will I eat the tablet with my mouth or feed it to my leg? I'll put it in my mouth. Then how does the medicine reach my toe? It reaches through the circulatory system. You have plants at home. Do you pull them every day and feed the roots? No. No. You put it on the soil. They are the vessels or tubes created by soil organisms which act as a circulatory system of the soil. Then they ask me whether it has an excretory system. Just like you and I go to the restroom and throw away our urine, which is full of urea in it because urea is toxic. In the same way, if you go to any soil which has excess salt in it, sodic soils, saline soils, do you think that they take the salt inside and go? They bring it and throw it outside. Soils are very intelligent. If they have an excretory system, then they ask me whether it has a reproductive system. Well, whatever may be your tissue culture plants, where have you to plant them? Where have you to plant them? In the soil. Just like a test tube baby. Even though you can create a sort of a in vitro fertilization, the zygote has to be implanted in the uterus. Only then the baby grows. In the same way, the plant has to be kept in the soil for the tree to grow. The soil logically has a reproductive system. The final question was very interesting when they asked me whether soil has a brain. That was asked in a very leading university. I don't want to name them. But to my experience, yes, soil has a brain. You dig a pit, you put any biological material into it, biomass, cow dung, it decomposes. You put a seed into it, it germinates. Soil knows what it has to decompose, what it has to germinate. That's the beauty of soil. Soil is life. And soil consists all these organisms which I'm mentioning over here. Variety of microorganisms, microarthropods, macroorganisms, earthworms, and in that, these two become very important. Earthworms and termites both do their similar job of creating and nourishing the soils. But we go and burn things on the soil, thinking that we are creating a sort of organic matter for the soil. But when you burn, you just don't burn good things. I have noticed people burning all this together. We are introducing chemicals and dioxins into the soil. Moreover, always remember, Soil is not just mineral matter. Soil has air, water, and a lot of organisms and organic matter into it. Soil needs air. Air. Remember that. And organic matter at an average should be 2% to 5%. Unfortunately, our national average is 0.15%. Tamilnadu, according to government, is 0.68%, but according to my own research, in certain areas, it is 0.15 to 2%, 0.2%. Land degradation is increasing, maybe due to several reasons like erosion, waterlogging, salinity, soil alkalinity. Variety of changes are happening, and lots of soil is being lost every year. Every year, with all the storms, you have seen what has happened in Wayanad and other places recently. In some parts of the country, we find sodic soil increasing day by day. Haryana and this zone, UP, we have a lot of sodic soil. We, of course, were involved with one of the land reclamation projects, sodic soil. We were able to, this was the profile of it. With the help of local worms and certain management practices, we were able to convert this soil into this soil with a good profile. Now, that is what soil can rejuvenate by itself. Mitigation processes are very important. It takes a long time, but it is a steady process. People immediately say, no, soil should be studied this way. But to my knowledge, teach people, very simple. Put it in a bottle, add water, have a look at it. You will understand what type of organic matter is there. To understand your soil, simple soil, just take soil, put it in your palm, add a little bit of water, make it like a dough. Atta, roti atta, dough. Take it between the finger and the thumb and make a sort of a wick, wick, which we keep in the lamp, small dhaga like, right? Wick. Now, when you make a wick, and if this wick, you are not able to make the wick at all, that means it's very sandy. You are able to make a wick, it continues to grow to about 2 inch, 2.5 inch, it is clay. You are able to make the wick, but at every 1.5, 2 inches, it breaks. It's a good loamy soil. But there's one more way of approaching the soil. This is the soil jar set, where you can put water in soil and you can see how much of organic matter is there. But the best I found very, very, very reasonable and very good for the farmers as sort of a cue. Take a cow for a walk, and if the dung is there, leave the dung there itself. Leave it for about 2, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is. Then go and have a look at it. If the dung dries up like a patty, that means there's a problem with your soil. There's no moisture in your soil. There are no soil organisms in your soil. If the dung crumbles into small pieces, beautiful. There's enough moisture, enough microorganisms, and all the organisms. Just move there, you will find a lot of small microarthropods running around. Because each spoon of soil has several billion bacteria in it. This is a soil of one of the farmers here in Tamilnadu, where I work. You can find so much of worm castings over there. Right? Yes, cattle is very important for us. Cattle is very important for us. Now, when I look at cattle, the moment we brought in tractors, we forgot about animals. But tractors don't give us the tongue. They don't give us the tongue. So, but when in those days, when cattle was used to plow, then soil started rising up. When soil starts coming up, air goes inside. Today, when I use a tractor, yes, some areas the soil comes up. But where you find strong wheels or tires of the tractor, you find soil compaction happening. When soil compaction happens, soil air escapes. When soil air escapes, soil organisms go down. A simple experiment to understand how in the case of loose soil, you find the roots entering till the end, whereas in compacted soil, roots don't grow. So people start talking about soil fertility. I myself have seen that any laboratory, you go and give your soil. They will analyze and they will tell you about pH, electroconductivity, NPK, micronutrients. They don't stop with that. Then they recommend add so much of urea, so much of DAP, so much of potash. So gradually what has happened is soil fertility got related with fertilizers. So people like us who work with the organic lobby, we call it a soil health, which is inclusive, right from the fragrance of the soil to the organisms in the soil. When a lady is pregnant, if you want the baby to grow healthy, you don't inject medicine into the uterus. You take care of the mother. Today's food is devoid of nutrition. Soils are depleted with nutrition. So the grains which grow in that are depleted with nutrient content. Instead of taking care of the soil, we are reverting to fortified food. where after harvest, the grains will be enhanced with nutrients. Somewhere we have all lost our natural way of doing, because in non-chemical farming, we feed the soil, whereas in chemical farming, we feed the plant. That's why vermitech started, earthworm biotechnology. Native earthworms are plenty, but and these worms can be classified into three groups. I won't go into the details because of limitation of time. I would like to be a bit fast as well. You find worms at the surface of the soil. We call them as epigeic. Don't get upset about it. Epi means above, jeic means geo, geo means earth, earth means soil. Anasic are the intermediates which keep moving up and down. Endogeics live inside the soil. Three categories of worms, and these are the three normal categories of worms. The darkest would be on the surface, the fairer will be at the soil because they are away from the sun. And these castings also vary. You find the worm castings in surface worms to be small, small, whereas in the middle, anasic will be slightly in this way, whereas the burrowing type will produce bigger castings. This is one excellent earthworm which grows in acidic soil, because this has calciferous glands and it secretes calcium carbonate and neutralizes the soil. That is nature's mechanism. So when there are worms and organisms in the soil, litter decomposition is fast, microorganisms multiply, a variety of things happen in the soil, and this is how an earthworm looks. It consumes the food, and then the food is crushed, and the food gets digested. And after digestion, digested food goes into the intestine. There are nephridia in every segment. The nephridia pour urea inside. Urea and carbon combines, and a beautiful nutrient comes out in the form of castings. That is why vermicastings are very rich fertilizers. Very rich fertilizers. These are the cocoons produced by earthworms, and from the cocoons, the young earthworms come out this way. Very simple. When it rains heavily, worms will come. Worms will come out. These are the local earthworms, very good earthworm. These are imported and used, Icenia fetida. There is a group of people who say that these are all bad because they produce a lot of heavy metals. No earthworm synthesizes heavy metals. They only excrete what they consume, right? This is Icenia fetida. These are Udolus eugenie. It's very easy. You have cow dung which is being cooled down, add the worms and leave a dung pat on it. Worms multiply. Worms multiply. Very good. And that's vermicompost. And that's vermicompost. Always remember that drier the leaf, there's more carbon, greener the leaf, there's more nitrogen. Balance it to 30:1. These are all the carbon and nitrogen sources which are available. That's the reason why nature also drops both the type of leaves at the same time, green and brown. Very simple. Put some twigs at the base, add the biomass. You must add microbial content. The best source of microbial content is diluted cow dung. Add it up, just cover it loosely with a polythene sheet. Heat generates inside. This heat can go to around 60 to 62 degrees Celsius. This is very important. Very important for me because this heat destroys unwanted pathogens, unwanted pests, unwanted seeds. And then after 15 days, we do a turnover. After the turnover, we allow it to another for about 20-25 days. The whole unit comes down, cool it, coarse sieve it, give it to the worms. The worms eat it. They produce vermicompost, sieve it and use it. Very simple process. Be very clear that the earthworm has segments, the nematode has no segments. So don't get confused between these two. But be careful about this chart. This is a planarian which can go and predate on the earthworms. So be careful when you're doing composting. Any type of compost, this is how it destroys the earthworms. This is the Bipalium cavense, and this is an earthworm. It just wraps around, sucks away the blood from it. Now, any type of composting you do, this will grow. These are all larvae of rhinoceros beetle. In case you are doing composting and if you see large number of these, then grow poultry along with it. These are rich source of food for the poultry. Otherwise, they will become rhinoceros beetle. And if you have a coconut plantation, this may affect the coconut plantations. Be careful for all those ladies and gentlemen who are watching here. There's a group of people who are promoting incubators to do composting in India, which is not necessary. It takes 7 days composting. No compost can be formed in 7 days. There's one more group which says they can produce compost in 24 hours. If such people appear to you, please honestly ask them whether they were born in 10 minutes or whether they were born in 10 months. Compost cannot be formed in 24 hours. It's a process. If at all you want something in 24 hours, I can recommend a wonderful system and that's a biological system. Invest in cattle. Give any green biomass to them, 24 hours dung is ready. Dung can easily be used for manure preparation or can be used as such. Why I'm trying to tell all this to you people is, suppose you're going on a picnic, you catch fish, the fish dies. You want to preserve them and take it home after 3-4 days. You don't have a refrigerator, you don't have ice. Then what do? You add salt. When you add salt, the fish does not decompose because microorganism cannot multiply, but the fish becomes a dried fish. The same thing has happened to our soils. We have added so much of chemical salts into it, like nitrates, phosphates, and potash, in so much of quantity that our soils are becoming dried soils. Second one important thing, the more salt you consume food, you immediately feel thirsty, you want water. So more salt and chemicals you add into the soil demands water, and there is no water. There's no water. So in a chemical field, you will find that the water dries up faster, whereas in an organic field, you will find water is retained. And some of these worms have this beautiful way of staying over drought periods, right? Please, this is for many, many people. I may take 5 or 10 minutes more. We can have a smaller question hour. But I want to share a lot of information with my participants. You see, when it is raining and I hold an umbrella, water does not fall on my head. It falls around me. I don't have an umbrella. I go and stand under the shade of a tree. A few drops may fall on my head, but most of the water falls around the tree. Why should water fall around the tree? It falls around the tree because the roots which drink are there. So when I have trees or a horticulture, where should I water the tree? Where the canopy ends, or at least 2 feet, 2.5 feet away from the trunk. But what do? We water near the trunk, and we look at fruits and vegetables which doesn't grow. So this is how we teach all the farmers to make a trench at that area and feed them. Mulching is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Mulching is very, very important. Unfortunately, the moment we say mulch, people go for a plastic mulch. Plastic mulch generates heat, whereas an organic mulch produces enough area for microorganisms to multiply, earthworms to multiply. Because when you put a mulch, and that mulch, usually with the help of straw and with the rain and sunshine, both of them happen, fermentation takes place, carbonization takes place, and humic acid, fulvic acid, moisture, organic carbon, everything gets formed. Very simple. This is how earthworms make burrows. This is a circulatory system of the soil, based on which we created vermi-wash. There is Panchagavya. There's a procedure of Panchagavya, which you can all comfortably see later. You can make your own tonics at home. Any ripe fruits or vegetables, mix it with jaggery, ferment it, you get lovely fertilizers. Fish waste gives you excellent amino acids for the plants. This is called as coconut milk, buttermilk mixture, which is very good for flowering plants, which usually they drop off flowering stage, use them. But to me, for homemakers, men or women, for your terrace gardens and small gardens, after you eat the banana, put the peels in a bottle, add water, close it, leave it for 3-4 days, just keep shaking it every day. He can take the water, dilute, spray, excellent. Hibiscus and all will grow beautiful, beautiful. And if you are sort of a non-vegetarian and you take eggs, take the eggshells, crush them, slightly roast them, they'll become brown in color. The inner gel will dry up. Put them, add vinegar. Vinegar is acetic acid. Eggshell has calcium carbonate, immediately starts bubbling. Within about 48 hours, you have all the nutrients of the eggshells in the liquid. Dilute it, spray it. You have fertilizers at your own hands. Don't get upset. Jivamurti is one more thing. Anything. We have done a lot of experiments. I'm talking to you not out of my mind, just any experiment you can do yourself. If you have prepared a solution, make a 15%, 10% liquid solution, keep an onion. If the roots are growing beautifully long and thick, you have discovered a new fertilizer. Do it, use it. I'm talking to you with all evidences. These are all my PhD students' work. What happens to the xylem vessels? What happens to the chromosomes? And what are the molecular structures of these compounds we have worked out? Seeds, be careful. They also interact with the soil. You have so many seeds which are there directly in the kitchen, which you don't need to buy. Native seeds are called as heirloom seeds. Remember that. Native seeds are called as heirloom seeds. Unfortunately, today you go and buy from the market, even those heirloom seeds are colored. And if they are colored, it is because of a chemical called as neonicotinoids, one of the neurotoxic substances. Now, I'm not worried about because the plant grows, they are all healthy. The crop is all fine. But I'm worried about the farmers who will be using them or the homemakers who will be using them. When you use them and plant it and by mistake you keep touching your lips, then you transfer this into your body. Be careful when you're handling this sort of colored seeds. But we have worked with alternatives. Termite soil gives us very good rewards. And there's a lot of difference between hybrids and GMOs. GMOs are coming in the market. Once upon a time, farmers' seeds, now seed politics everywhere, right? Because, and the moment I talk about this, people say, what to do, sir? We get pests. If you have pests, ask for a professor. Who is the greatest scientist on the farm? Professor Goat. Take Goat for a walk. Goat eats all sorts of plants. The plants which a goat does not eat has pest repellent properties. That's all. That's all. Identify them. Like, for example, this plant at the base is called as Ada Toda. The name comes from Tamil. It's called as Adu Todadadu, which means a goat doesn't touch. Identify these sort of plants, use them, make a tonic, allow it to ferment, and be careful about the plastics in your ecosystems, because today microplastics have been reported even from vegetables and fruits. And please, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely request you, don't get carried away with leaders. You may do permaculture, you may do biodynamic, you may do sustainable farming, you may do natural farming, or you may do organic farming. You may even do blend of everything. What is wrong? It is your farm, your soil, your product, your money. You may be doing organic farming. You can go and borrow a little bit of BD 500 or 501 from biodynamic farming. You can design your farm based on permaculture design. You use Jivamrit from natural. Who is worried? Don't worry at all. Don't follow a leader. Follow your own concepts, ideas. But only thing is we have to concentrate on non-chemical, non-poisonous farming. Right? Because a farmer doesn't just grow crops. A farmer creates an environment whose crops grow them. Okay? Technology, yeah, I use technology in agriculture in this way. Anyway, it's on the lighter side. The problem today is technology should assist the farmer. What companies are trying to do is trying to replace the farmer. Technology should assist the farmer, not replace the farmer. Many people tell me that today we are able to see elephants, but we are not able to see earthworms. So shall we reworm the world? Today, when it rains, water doesn't percolate inside. Worms create burrows, and they can enable water harvesting as well. So it is not just soil, it is also water harvesting. People spoke about global warming. I have worked throughout my life on global warming, and that term vermitech was coined by me for the world. Children study about it. This is the first organic farming meet in India during 83, 84. Bernard had hosted it, and I had conducted a workshop with Bernard where Mr. Namalwar had come, and organic farming movement started. We started this movement long back, 91, 92, reaching to people. 92, I released the entire procedure in the Hindu, followed in Tamil literature. 95, I created vermiwash. 99, I started the concept of rooftop gardening, which today people talk about terrace gardening. But if you have to do all this work, you've got to be patient. Because today, even if you walk politely, there is somebody to push you down. So work on it, irrespective of it. One sincere question to you, ladies and gentlemen. When it rains, the water falls on the soil. Whom does this water belong to? You may say to the soil. In case you carry a pot and keep it there, and the water falls in the pot, whom does that water belong to now? You may say it belongs to you. But I gave you that pot. Now whom does the water belong to? Does it belong to me? You are hesitating, right? The same thing. Our farmers, their land, their work. But the way systems are changing is somebody wants to decide what should be grown there and how it should be harvested. This is not a political platform to discuss about the policies, but please remember, ladies and gentlemen, art, just change or jumble one word, should where the earth is, right? And to conclude, a very interesting poem or a share in Urdu, which is there, which means the soil is talking to you. Do not show any favor to me would be the greatest favor you would show. If at all you wish to show favor, allow me to live. So let us live, allow the soils to live. There are some of my new books. And the government of Tamilnadu created the organic farming policy, of which I was one of the members to contribute to it. We have already released the organic farming policy. We're going to go in a big way for organic farming. I love this message by Tagore. With every child that is born comes a message that God is not yet disappointed with man. So let us leave behind a healthy environment for the next generation. That's our eye view, but who cares? All the best. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. I will take up the questions now. The first question is, from an earthworm's perspective, what challenges do they face in different soil environments?
Sorry.
From an earthworm's perspective,
Hmm.
what challenges do they face in different soil environments?
What challenges take place?
No. What challenges do the earthworms face in different soil environments?
The more chemicals and inputs you give, the worms try to move away for some time because if you want to try, you can put an earthworm on your palm and add a little bit of salt which you eat, which is consumable. The earthworm will wriggle and die. Dehydrated soils, excess chemical soils, organically polluted soils can always chase away the earthworms. So these are the challenges they face. Water retention, water stagnation can also remove the worms to some extent.
Okay. How do agricultural practices affect earthworms populations and soil health?
Normal earthworms, sort of a cultivation in the organic farming way, because even when you run a plow or a tractor, it doesn't affect them where there is no soil compaction. Some of them may die while being plowed, but the population multiplies faster and they can regain their population. There's no difficulty. It is only mismanagement of the soil which destroys the earthworm populations.
Okay. What are the consequences of pesticide use on earthworms and soil biodiversity?
That is a law, a very established fact, because you use a pesticide because you also think that earthworm is a pest. So side means to kill. So anything which we feel today, the modern concept is anything that comes away from what I want is considered a pest and has to be removed. And most of the pesticides have a negative impact on earthworm populations, and they eliminate earthworms from those areas.
Okay. Sir, what are some sustainable farming practices that can support healthy earthworm populations?
That's what I was speaking about. Whether you do permaculture or organic farming or natural farming or one of these, any type of farming other than adding too much of chemicals into it. You see, even to some extent earlier, even after adding chemicals, we were able to see earthworms in the soils. But continuous addition has increased so much because we cannot compromise on the harvest. So when you keep harvesting more and more, and you add more and more chemicals into to get the same harvest ratios, then there is a reduction in the population of earthworms. And basically, what happens is the surface earthworms are not available anywhere today when air is going to. The second one, which will vanish, will be the burrowing type of worms. Burrowing worms are very important for the soil. They aerate the soil, they carry nutrients into the soil. It's something like this. To understand people, I can say that you are driving on the highway and you stop at a hotel on the way and you go for the food. There were tables were all full. You wait for some time and somebody gets up. You go and grab the chair and sit over there. Your table is dirty. So one person comes, cleans the table, and goes away. You can call him as a person who cleans the table. The second person comes and asks you, "What would you like to have?" If you tell him that you want roti and dal, then the person doesn't go and cook roti and dal. He goes and tells somebody else. The third person cooks, and this person again brings back. The same way, the endozoic worms, which are inside the soil, they keep cleaning the soil, moving horizontally mostly. The ones on the top surface, they are the ones who are the masters who cook. The ones in the between are the ones which keep moving up and down, are the ones who carry message of the need and the delivery pattern. So gradually we are eliminating each zone. So the moment the zones keep moving away, then the soil will lose its credibility. It's time that we all wake up to protect the soil. There's a reason I talk about soil health and not soil fertility.
Okay. Sir, what is the role of soil testing in managing soil health?
That's one thing wonderful because there are so many soil cards, everything being prepared today. But soil, the best way is a farmer knows when the soil is good. And like if you dig the soil and if you find earthworms, I I was the one who coined the sentence that earthworm is the pulse of the soil. You know, like when you go to a doctor, the doctor first feels the pulse. If the pulse is normal, then your health is normal. The same way, if you dig the soil and if a worm comes and says hello, then it's the pulse of the soil. Healthier the pulse, healthier the soil. Because what happens is if you take even if you take an ant, a bigger ant or anything, in fact, most of young women would be familiar when they used to not unkept hair, you get those head lice, hair, you get a head lice, louse. You just keep it on your nail and then you try to crush it. It makes a sound tick because they all have a sort of a thick covering. Earthworm is the most soft bodied animal. So in a soil, if I find earthworm, I presume that the entire community is also living there. So they become like some sort of an indicator species of soil health.
Okay. What is the role of government policies? Sorry, sir. What role do government policies play in promoting soil health?
They play a vital role because any farmer would be supported or guided by the agriculture department or the agriculture universities in the respective states. So the state policy, to a large extent, influences what type of things should reach the farmer. To a large extent, here I find in Tamilnadu, the government was very serious of bringing in an organic farming policy, which our chief minister had released. Now they are working on standardizing biostimulants, biofertilizers, all these components. So government has a major role to play because a farmer looks forward to the government as to the credibility of the material which he would be receiving, he or she would be receiving for farming purposes. So government has a very important role to, whether it's the union government or whether it's the state government. In fact, I think even government of India has been contemplating on enhancing soil health through organic practices. ICR also is trying to do a lot of work. My only request to anybody who wants to work on, let us not impose upon our farmers that you follow one type of system like natural farming or organic farming or permaculture or biodynamic. Leave the choice to the farmer to use any one of these techniques or a combination of these techniques as long as the farmer does not use synthetic chemicals.
Okay. Sir, how can public awareness about soil health be increased to encourage better soil management practices?
It's very important because, in fact, in schools, especially in children, there's a lot of information today, but it's not being transferred in their minds to a large extent. Maybe some of the NGOs are playing a vital role in transferring information and knowledge. But I would appreciate if there was a wonderful movie, one or two pictures in Tamil which came, which were talking about farmers and their benefits. So, like people watch a lot of films, a lot of media. If they can always promote such concepts for the benefit of society and health, that can reach people. But what is required is a lot of awareness is required. People think that soil, they take it for granted. They take it for granted. They take air for granted. They take water for granted. One thing I must say that all these natural resources are becoming a constraint. And unless we wake up now with climate change, I feel that there's going to be a lot of backlash on us. I also have a feeling that most of the C3 crops, including paddy and wheat, will suffer. To a large extent, I also have a sort of a feeling that millets will be taking an upper hand. So the government, even though the International Year of the Millets was declared and many states and the Government of India also conducted several programs for promotion of millets, I think it will fade away within a few months. Nobody will remember that unless it's taken up as a mission. A millet mission should be formed. Why I'm trying to tell you this is with changing weather patterns and climate change, millets alone will be able to thrive better in our society. And I am optimistic, whether I would be there or not to watch it. But somebody somewhere who would be listening to this talk, maybe henceforth after several years, India may be providing food for the world.
Okay. Sir, can you please tell us about yourself? What made you take an interest in this particular field, sir?
Well, I don't follow a normal regimen. I always allow nature to take care of me. I'm basically a zoologist. I did my BS in zoology, which is general zoology. I did my master's in fishery biology, so I know those aspects as well. I did my MPhil in marine biology, after which I came to my department. I was working in my lab when one of my students wanted to do some research. I took permission from my head of the department, who was also the principal of the college, whether I can start research. He was very happy to say that I've always dreamt of it. Why don't you start? While returning, I found a paper lying on the floor and I just picked up that paper. It was a seminar on animal behavior to be conducted in Aligarh Muslim University in 1980, January. It was the year 1979. So I asked this boy whether he would be able to do something on behavior. He said, anything, sir. So for studying animal behavior, I needed live animals. My lab assistant was crossing my room. I called him. I asked whether we have any live animals in the department. He said, sir, we have earthworms. That's how my journey on earthworms started. It was an accident. Nature laid the earthworms into my hands. I continued to work on it. So I wanted a continuous supply of worms. So I standardized technology for culturing local earthworms. We multiplied them to a large extent. We coined the term vermitech. We gave it to the FAO. FAO uses that term. And today, I also took a patent on composting process because composting is a general process. You can't take a patent. I took a patent on how we can do it with modified machinery. But I took it just because people tomorrow should not say it was their idea. Because the moment it came, I released it to the people through the media, so that anybody can do it and be happy with the results. But in spite of having standardized promoting vermicomposting, my humble request to anybody listening to this talk today, tomorrow, henceforth, just by adding vermicompost is not enough unless you get live organisms in your soil. Native earthworms do a job which no exotic species can do. Native earthworms have to come in your soil. When they come and they say hello to you, that means your soil is healthy. So that is very important. So soil management towards soil health should be a very important criteria. And actually, it's an emergency. Already soils are in the ICU. If you travel towards Bathinda and other places in Punjab, the soil is already almost bleached and is white in color with no organic matter. It's time that we all wake up. Whether you change gradually or drastically, a slow process of change is definitely required, and lots of organic input has to go into the soils to bring back and rejuvenate our soils.
Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank Mr. Sultan Ahmed Ismail for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Thank you. I'm leaving now.
Welcome, sir.